Kevin Durant, I talked about him a little bit in the last episode at the end uh, when I was talking about LeBron and LeBron's comments on ring culture. And I tied into Durant how, I feel like Durant's spirit is non competitive, right? Durant plays the game. But I was like, when I first got to middle school, right? When I got to I went to K through 5 elementary, then I went to 6 through 8 middle school. Well, it was actually K through 8 middle school, but I didn't get there till the 6th grade. And so when I got there, I noticed the guys in my class, they would play basketball at recess or lunch. But then, but I really, but they weren't keeping score. They were just out there playing basketball. And so I started keeping score, and I basically changed the way that they did things. I mean, when I got there, and but the way that I think Kevin Durant, if he could, he would. It's like he would play basketball, and there wouldn't be a score, there wouldn't be any stakes. It would just be a chance for him to showcase his skill set, and I think he's just the type of person who I think it's something I was saying last week. This era that these guys like LeBron ushered in, whereas before you had players. That's why the ring culture comment was ridiculous. Because I mean, what are you playing for? What is the culture if it's not trying to win championships, right? That's why you're playing. Um, Even the guys who did not win championships in the previous era, or like when I was coming up, you think about obviously Charles Barkley, think about Karl Malone, you think about John Stockton, and players like that. You think about Allen Iverson from my era specifically. Um, it wasn't because they didn't care or because they took this attitude like, well, that's not really what it's about. It's about, you know, uh, just going out and playing my game and showcasing my skill set and being a good person or all this other stuff. They were trying to, that was why they played the game, was to try to win a championship. And so when LeBron sits up there and talks about, ring culture, and how it's overrated and he hates it and stuff like that. And I feel like Durant has said stuff over the years, like I think I don't want to lie or misquote him, but something to the effect of, uh, he wanted to go on and say because basically he wanted to just play without the pressure of having to be a leader or something to that effect. I just think that's the mindset of someone who's running from competition, you know. Um, and now at 37 years old, you have to look at it and you have to go, well, at his age, right? See, now the Rockets, they gave up a lot to get him, I feel like, but they had stockpiled so many assets that they could afford to part with what they parted with because they still have, you know, Cam Whitmore can play. Tari Eason will get more time now. They just took Reed Shepard with the 3rd pick last year, although he might be more of the replacement for Van Fleet when Van Fleet gets old. But uh, so they had enough assets to part with what they parted with. But if I were them, see, to me, what they gave up, you're talking about Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. So Jalen Green, a young player who could, I don't think he hasn't been an All-Star yet, but he could be. Dylan Brooks, the who's likely, the type of role player that you need if you want to be a serious playoff team. And he showed in Memphis. And Memphis is not the same without him. How long has Dylan Brooks been there? Did Dylan Brooks this is his first year? Yeah, no, this is his 2nd year in Houston, right? But he's a tough guy. I know people hate him, but he's a tough guy. And then they gave the number 10 pick and they gave up 5 second round picks, right? Now, um, to me, that's the type of package you give up to get Devin Booker, right? Devin Booker, who's younger and I think a more viable piece at this point in his career than Kevin Durant. But I think Kevin Durant, kind of like LeBron, is one of those guys who and Curry in that same category where they're so great, they've been so great that even though they're old now, even though they're old, people still sort of look at them like they did when they were in their prime. But this is not prime Kevin Durant. This is the Kevin Durant who he's at the point of his career. I always say this, like Kobe after Kobe won his last championship in 2010, where he can still put up numbers. He's still a great player. But if as far as winning championships go, there are now players who are younger, more viable um, uh, players, basically. If that's your goal to win a championship, I mean, it's a young man's game, as I said last week, and so uh, yeah, I just don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much this really makes the Rockets were already scary because they're so young and so athletic, right? And obviously Shingun is a hell of a player, and Amin Thompson is the sky's the limit with him. But now you're bringing this old guy Durant, and just because he's old, that doesn't mean he can lead these guys, right? Because he doesn't like leading. Now what he is he's still a walking bucket, even at 37. But I just don't know when it gets to the playoffs. Like they just went, didn't they just go 7 with Golden State? If that same series happens next year and Golden State has their guys, right? And uh, it's Houston again against Golden State. But now instead of Houston having Jalen and Dylan Brooks, now they have Kevin Durant, a walking bucket. But who would you rather go to war with? I'd rather go to war with Dylan Brooks. If not, if not Jalen Green. And Jalen Green, I think, is someone who, a talented player, but a level beneath your, like I said, Devin Booker. The very top level of shooting guard. Anthony Edwards. I don't think he'll ever be. I don't think he'll ever be that, right? But a very good player, and who could still get better. And it's gonna be interesting to see what Phoenix is gonna do now with Booker, if he could possibly be. I don't think they want to trade Booker, but does he still want to be there with this rebuild that's going on? Um, we'll have to see, but I just don't know if Durant, like I said, at any point in his career, if Kevin Durant was the type of player who was really going to be the bus driver on the championship team, and now he's going to Houston with the two best holdovers are Shingun and Thompson, two young guys. So he's once. I mean, if he's in a position again where they're like actually relying on him and needing him to push them over the top, I just don't know if he can do that. And that has nothing to do with talent. It has something to do with age. But even in his prime, and of course his injury history, but even in his prime, I just don't know if he has the mentality to do it. Now, I mean, I don't know of a situation where, you know, it's like you got old Kareem when Kareem was, from 87 to 89, the Lakers won in 87, 88, and then they went back in 89. And you go, well, Kareem, by then he was a fallback option, right? But that's not what That's not what Houston is asking Durant to do. They're asking Durant to come in there and still be kind of be Kevin Durant, kind of, right? And I just don't know if that's gonna. If the goal is winning the championship, I don't know if that's gonna work.